Hello, my dears. Of course, everyone has heard the phrase that a Jewish woman can make 10 dishes from one chicken. 10 out of 10, I don't know. But today we will make 8 dishes together. So, the Jewish answer.
I have one little bird.
Before doing anything, it needs to be prepared. As you can see, it's not difficult, it's quick. I didn't try too hard to remove all the meat from the bird because I'm going to make broth from what's left. The broth and the meat that's still on the bones will also come in handy for me today. I boiled water for the broth in advance, and now I'm putting the bird's carcass in there along with the neck. My broth is hot, so I'm adding an onion right in with the skin on. I have a little bit of celery. Well, actually, I'm not going to add anything else to it today. The broth will come to a boil with the chicken. I'll add some salt and put it on the stove.
First of all, let's deal with the chicken breasts, with the meat that either needs to be marinated or prepared for cooking.
So, I'll cut 1/2 of the breast into schnitzels. Schnitzels before frying. We will marinate, of course. We'll use eggs. So 1 egg, salt, just a pinch of salt, and a little paprika. If you want, you can add mustard or herbs if you like, it doesn't matter. Whisk everything together and put it into the egg. Our schnitzels. Mixed well, I recommend letting them sit for about half an hour. Then they will turn out juicy and tender. We're done with the schnitzels. Let's put them away. I still have one more chicken breast left. What am I going to do with it? I'm going to make cutlets out of it. Chopped cutlets. I don't need a meat grinder. I'll just finely chop this fillet. And now we're going to make the filling for our cutlets. A little bowl. We put the chopped meat in here. We won't be using eggs. A tablespoon of mayonnaise. About a tablespoon of flour, a pinch of salt. Black pepper. And now the main trick, walnuts. I'm going to drink them.
I'll take the tube down.
For this purpose, I can do everything on one cutting board. All these ingredients will be mixed with the poultry, so I have the right. And we also add the chopped nuts to our filling. More or less, it's really up to you. If you love nuts or don't love nuts, it's your choice. What I feel is missing in this filling is onion. But like any good housewife, I always have sautéed onions in the fridge. A whole container. Usually, I take 5, 6, or 7 onions, fry them, and put them in the fridge. The thing is, fried onions are needed in a huge number of recipes. In 3 days, the container is gone. So I'll add a bit of sautéed onion here.
And notice, I didn't spend time sautéing it right now.
Mix everything well and also let it marinate.
Well, let's continue. I still have some left from the crab.
We will make a steak from pargit. In Israel, pargit is either a whole small chicken or this tender meat from the chicken thigh. How to remove the skin from it, or rather not the skin, how to take the meat off this bone. Remove the bone. I'll just show you now.
So let's start. We make a cut around the bone, basically just cutting it out of the meat. We make the next cut up to the second joint and cut it out of the meat in the same way.
We've cut it off.
There's a thin bone here on the drumstick. See what we got? 2 bones are now attached to the meat. The legs are around this joint. We cut the meat. There might be a little hole all the way through the meat here, but that's okay. And that's it. This is the piece of meat we've got. All that's left is to make a marinade for the chicken steak, a small bowl and a clove of garlic. You can make any marinade you like, it doesn't really matter. I'll show you one of 100 options for how you can make a marinade. And salt, pepper, use black pepper if you want, or a pepper mix if you prefer. I'll take a teaspoon of smooth Dijon mustard and a little bit of olive oil, literally just a drop.
I'll mix all of this thoroughly. I only have one target, so I don't need much.
And I'll spread it over my future steak, really working it in with my hands, just rubbing it in. On the other side too. Notice that I didn't remove the skin. And I have this little bowl here. I think I'll let the steak rest in it. What do I have left here? I have 2 wings left. These need to be marinated. And actually, I also have the chicken tail left. They are prepared the same way. We'll marinate the wings together in one marinade, and we remove this last phalanx. We don't need it. We'll make a sauce for the chicken. And now a little bowl. Today I have a little bit of everything. Sometimes we have a lot of one thing, so we'll just take what we have and use it here. A teaspoon of seasoning for chicken. I have some for grilled chicken, so I'll use that. A teaspoon of olive oil. The oil is perfect. A bit of dried garlic, about half a teaspoon, and a small pinch of salt. We mixed everything together. If you're going to make a lot of wings, of course, increase the amount of all the ingredients. We coated them on all sides, covered them completely. We'll leave the wings to marinate and prepare the sauce. We need to make the sauce for the wings. We'll need honey. I have date honey, about a tablespoon. And believe it or not, ketchup. A teaspoon of ketchup, maybe 1.5, the one you use daily in your diet. So I'll add a teaspoon, mix everything together, and set it aside for later. We have one more drumstick left, and this one will be interesting. We're going to stuff it. So for this, we need to remove the skin. It comes off quite easily, and if there are any pieces of fat, you can carefully help yourself with a knife. We pull the skin off like a stocking. And actually, I have a scary tool, an old knife, an old hatchet, to separate the piece of bone that will stay with the skin. I have this kind of hatchet. It's already battle worn, old, and that's exactly what I'll be using for this today. We chopped it, and this is the piece we got. See, the joint and the skin. This is the skin we're going to stuff. For this, we need to cut off the meat, just like we did for the steak, but here we don't need it in one whole piece, because we're going to chop it all up finely anyway. We've trimmed the meat, we don't need the bone anymore, and now we'll chop it finely, like chopped cutlets. Well, the meat is chopped, let's put it in a bowl. I'm also adding a bit of pre-cooked sautéed onion here, and I'll add mushrooms as well. No need to sauté them, I'll just chop the mushrooms finely. Again, I'm adding the mushrooms to the same filling, so it's fine to chop them on the same board we use for the chicken.
You don't have to use mushrooms. You can use anything you like, for example, veal and liver or other organ meats, but you'll need to sauté them with the onion beforehand.
You can add boiled rice or buckwheat groats or even cooked buckwheat. Just boil it a little beforehand.
So it's really up to your imagination here. We love mushrooms, so I'm going to use mushrooms. There, in my opinion, that's enough.
What do we have left to do? Add salt, pepper, and spices, and we'll start stuffing our drumstick.
I'll add paprika.
Salt, and I'll mix everything well. And I'll put all of this back into the skin. Here is our skin. The way I folded it, let's turn it over to the larger side, where there's fat. We take the larger side of the skin facing down and start stuffing. Now we need thread and a needle. I have this so-called gypsy needle. It was passed down to me from my grandmother.
But they are available for sale. If you set your mind to it, you can find them. Let's start sewing. I like to make a knot at the end.
And now, when we have just a small hole left, we can add our filling, the leftovers. This is the kind of chicken leg we ended up with, and we're going to bake it. I have a little bit of filling left, and we'll use the chicken leg a bit later as well. What do we do with it? I take a baking dish and put a little vegetable oil on the bottom. I put my chicken leg in the dish, and for that nice crust we'll get later. I'll take a little regular mayonnaise, gather what's left around the edges, and coat the chicken. Look, my oven is preheating to 200 degrees, 30 minutes with the lid on, and then about 10 minutes without the lid until a golden crust appears. So friends, and probably the recipe you've been waiting for the most, stuffed chicken necks. These days, it's almost impossible to buy a chicken with a long neck and the skin fully intact. At least I never come across those. Why chicken neck? In the past, chicken used to be sold like that to increase the weight. They would cut off the head, but the whole neck with the skin would remain, and you could use it for something too. Nowadays, it's hard to even get chicken neck skin. So we'll have to somehow cut it out from the skin that I just took off our chicken. I'll cut out something like a sausage shape, trim a rectangle, and just like I stitched our ham, I'll sew up this neck. Basically, I need to make a sausage. I folded it in half. I'll sew 1 and 2, my favorite needle. Let's get to work, partner. Actually, you understand perfectly well that this dish is so-so. It's not really a dish anymore. It's more like a memory, a recollection, Jewish poverty. There's nothing in this dish that deserves any special attention. Actually, it's just the fat left over after cutting up the chicken, some onions, and the most ordinary flour, salt, and pepper. Today, I'll offer you a slightly more refined version of this dish. We have a little bit of filling left, and there's a bit of meat and onion here. I'll also add the chicken fat that I have left, chop it up finely. Originally, let me repeat, chicken fat, flour, and sautéed onions. And of course, I need to chop all of this even finer. Let's go back to the bowl. We already have salt and pepper here, basically. So I'll just add flour here. I'll probably add a tablespoon of flour here. I'll mix it a little. I already have onions here too. I'll add a bit of fat from these sautéed onions. Here you can add the oil that comes in the box, or just add some vegetable oil. The flour needs to set a little, and let's start stuffing. The process is exactly the same as with the thighs. This is the kind of mixture I ended up with. It's easier to squeeze it a little into a sort of sausage shape like this, and put it into the prepared skin. Cover it, just press it down with your hand.
All that's left is to sew it up.
We've done all the preparations. Now let's start cooking. I've put the pan on to heat up. I'll pour some oil in here and we'll fry it.
Schnitzels.
I keep the breadcrumbs in a container like this, with a lid. Actually, it's very convenient. They're always at hand and it's really easy to dip the schnitzels in a large amount. Here are my schnitzels. They've soaked up the egg and spices. All I have to do is coat them with breadcrumbs on both sides and put them on a hot pan. Since I fry the schnitzels in quite a lot of oil, I usually put them on a paper towel first, so the excess oil can drain off. My schnitzels are ready, and I'll be serving them with rice. Today I made rice with vegetables in a pan. I think it's a wonderful side dish.
And a couple of schnitzels.
And next, remember, we made minced meat for chopped cutlets. The same pan.
Oil.
And in this case, we'll be working with a spoon, placing our cutlets like pancakes. And we'll fry the other side of the cutlets, under a lid, reducing the heat. I don't know how it's done at your place, but in our house certain dishes have. Certain favorite side dishes, cutlets, chicken cutlets. It doesn't matter if they're made from ground meat or chopped. We actually really love them either with vegetables or just with buckwheat porridge. Today I have buckwheat porridge. Enjoy your meal. Our second dish is ready. Let's move on to the third dish. For it, I took a grill pan, the kind with ridges. And we have that very marinated chicken thigh steak. Take it out and place it skin side up for a few minutes. Then just flip the steak. It's a steak, so it doesn't really need a side dish. Just some vegetables are enough. The vegetables are ready. Well, the steak is ready too. There are amazing aromas flying around here. The garlic gives its flavor. Let's plate it.
Well, in the meantime, let's continue. 3 dishes are ready.
The fourth dish is chicken wings. I'm heating up the pan again. A drop of oil, literally just a drop. And I lay out the wings, browning them well on both sides.
We also have a chicken tail here.
You know, when I was little, it was very popular to roast a whole chicken in the oven. And my brother and I would wait, all the guests were sitting at the table, and we would wait for the chicken to be ready. And before Mom took it out of the oven, we had to take it out, cut off the wings, and cut off the tails. That was the tastiest part. We used to get in so much trouble for it, but the thrill was worth it. And remember, we have a sauce ready for the wings, which only has 2 ingredients, honey and ketchup.
We wait for the wings to cook.
And now the wings are fried on both sides. They're already done. And now I can pour the sauce into the pan. Quickly coat the wings with the sauce.
On both sides as well.
Here are the wings we ended up with. And we'll continue. We've already made 4 dishes. Now we're starting to make the 5th. Begin the frying pan, add a little oil, and we'll use the onions that I fried in advance. You've probably already guessed that we're moving on to stuffed chicken necks. The thing is, in the past, what we just sewed up, our grandmothers would simply put into the broth and boil. I want to give you a slightly modified recipe for this traditional dish.
After all, time goes on, everything flows, everything changes.
My pan is heating up with the onions, and in the meantime, our stuffed leg is already ready. Look at this, how beautiful it turned out. We'll put it on a platter. By the way, this is the 5th dish, which we also have ready. The onions have started to brown. My broth is ready, and that's the 6th dish. The onions are frying. We'll take our stuffed neck. And we'll put it in to fry together with the onions. We'll fry it a little on both sides. We'll lower the heat and add chicken broth right into the pan. We cover it with a lid and let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. The heat is almost on minimum. But while the chicken neck is simmering, I'll turn it over a few times. And while the chicken neck is simmering, I'll show you my absolute favorite dish from my childhood. I took the carcass out of the broth. By the way, my broth turned out really rich. A little yellow in color because I boiled the onion right in its skin. And what we need to do is separate the meat that's here. While the broth was cooking, I also boiled some potatoes. And now I'll show you what I loved most in my childhood.
And it was very hard to feed me. Boiled potatoes.
We add sautéed onions.
And all these little bits that we took off the chicken bones.
Of course, you can chop it up a bit more with a knife, but I prefer it when it's shredded like this.
We add it here to the potatoes.
And together with the onion and the chicken, we make a puree.
The puree with chicken and onion is ready. And you know, the way I like to eat it the most was to eat the puree separately and wash it down with chicken broth. That's what we'll do today.
Puree and a mug of fragrant broth.
If you want your broth to be clear, peel the onion before you throw it into the broth. Puree with chicken broth. And the neck is left, we turn it off. Let's see what we got. My neck came apart a little along the seam, but there's nothing to worry about, nothing to worry about. Let's put it here. And into this boiling sauce that's in the pan, let's add a little flour for the neck. It tore a little, but that's okay. We'll add this kind of flour-based side dish to it as well. It's a hearty dish, obviously not very healthy, but as a memory from childhood, that's exactly how it was. We worked really hard today. Actually, it took me 2.5 hours to make all these dishes, considering that I was filming, moving the camera around, and trying to explain and tell you things. So what did we make? Well, first of all, chicken neck, stuffed chicken drumstick, buckwheat with chopped cutlets and walnuts, and a chicken drumstick steak. Chicken wings in a tomato honey marinade, mashed potatoes with chicken meat, fried onions, and chicken broth. For the schnitzels with rice fried with vegetables in a pan. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the very 8 dishes I promised you. Cook with pleasure, experiment, take care of yourself and stay healthy.